Hello, this is Anna Pacheco with SantaFe101.com. My guest today is Kim Stallard, and she's with Stallard Real Estate in Debaca County. Kim, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes, you do.
Well, thank you very much. I don't know a whole lot about Fort Sumner except that Billy the Kid is buried there. So tell me something about Fort Sumner, and then we'll talk about real estate.
Well, Billy the Kid is the biggest drawing card, but we do have several other things, and one of the major ones is the Bosque Redondo Memorial that memorializes the imprisonment of the Navajo and the Apache, Mescalero Apaches in the 1860s. And so there's a wonderful memorial down there in the valley. Something a lot of people don't know is NASA actually brings in groups every year and sends up balloons from an old air base that we have north of town. And so in the spring and in the fall, you can see these crazy balloons, not like a hot air balloon, but a long, narrow balloon that goes up. And we call them weather balloons, but I know they do a lot of different things.
And what is the significance? Why do they come to your area to do this?
The wind, I think, and the openness, lack of population. New Mexico is really good, and Fort Sumner actually had the facility for it. We had a building for them to use, and we had the motels, the facilities for them to come to, but they can fly in any direction and not run into a lot of air traffic and have openness so they can land those balloons.
And what do you think the true significance is of those balloons? You call them weather balloons. Is that what they're doing, do you think? Or
that's part of it. But we have people that come in from all over the world. I've met them from Japan and different places. They bring in what they call payloads and take them up in the air at different levels and just do research, what happens and at different altitudes, at different temperatures and things like that.
And it's always held in the springtime, like around March, April, or
spring and the fall. Both of those are their best times. And of course, it depends on the weather. The wind is the big factor. In the spring, we do have spring winds in the March, April area. So they kind of have to work around that. But yeah, they send up all kinds of things, but it's a long, narrow balloon and they'll have something attached to the bottom.
And is this for like a specific week, or is it throughout the month, or how many?
Well, they'll be here 2 or 3 months. It just
really?
Depends on the weather and how much they get done. They don't know how long they'll be here, but we have a lot that come in from Texas with NASA. And so that affects our real estate in that they want to rent. Some of them would prefer a home, that way they can bring their family sometimes, especially if they have a young family or if it's just a man and a wife and not have to stay in a motel. But the motels have accommodated them as well in that most of them have a grill and an outside cooking area that they can socialize together, and not have to eat out every meal.
And so, what about Airbnbs? Do you have those in Fort Sumner?
I know of 2, and there may be more, but I know of 2 that are right here on Sumner Avenue, and they're very nice. I think they stay fairly busy from what it looks like, and they've just opened up the last year.
So, and what about, since you mentioned rentals, what about do you have like apartment rentals there, buildings, or are rentals pretty easily available? Are they readily available for people that might be coming to Fort Sumner?
I won't say readily available, but we have a list. Most everybody knows who's going to have them. We only have about 2,000 people in our whole county. So there's about 1,000 in town. And so you kind of know who to call. So if someone calls me, I have a list and I give them their phone numbers, and rentals typically go for, the average is $500 to $600 a month. We do have what we call low income housing, but it's it's based on your income, and it's not just for low income people. It can be for higher income people, and they just can't find another place. So that's where they want to be, especially if they're single, because they are very accessible, handicap accessible, you know, and there's several of those in town. But I think there's around, I looked it up, and about 62% of the people own their homes. I don't know how many are empty over and above that, but there are a lot of rental properties.
And in terms of the real estate, are there a lot of houses on the market right now?
No, you know, not having that many people or that many homes, you're never going to find a multitude of homes on the market at one time. They tend to rotate, you know, as one sells, another one seems to come open. And so we stay busy year round. We've always got something going on, but we don't see a lot of highs and lows like a lot of markets. Ours is you know, stays pretty flat. And our population has stayed around the same. I did talk to the superintendent of schools, and he said they have lost a few families due to COVID. They wanted to get their kids into school systems that were open and not online. And hopefully those will come back, you know, after this COVID thing is over with.
So you're not seeing a lot of different counties in New Mexico are seeing an influx of people from California and Texas moving here now. You're not actually experiencing that at Fort Sumner.
We don't see a huge influx. I have shown several properties for various reasons they did not move here, and a lot of it's because we don't have a large number for them to choose from, you know. But what I see opportunity in is if someone wants to move to Fort Sumner and build a new home or have a new home moved in to a location. We have a development out near the lake. Sumner Lake State Park is out there, and there's a 99 tract development out there. They're 10 and 20 acre tracts with electricity. So I see a huge opportunity for someone that wants to build a home or something like that.
And what would something like that cost? What would the cost of something just for the tract of land itself be?
The land is anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 typically, you know, depending on the number of acres and the location, and the views are just phenomenal out there. And so, but it is in the country, and, you know, people from the city don't realize the magnitude of the silence, you might say. They love it, but then they turn around and they go, oh my gosh, you know, this really is too quiet sometimes. And they love the stars. You can see the stars. You can see every sunset and every direction, you know, it's just awesome, the sunsets and sunrises. So I would encourage people to come and look and decide for themselves, you know, if they can do that. And we have sold several out there recently, and people are moving here slowly. You know, this development came about in just as the crash came in New Mexico in 07, 08. And so a lot of people bought those wanting to retire to New Mexico because of our wonderful weather. You know, we're in the 90s in the summer, and the lows in the summer, you know, in the 60s. So it does cool off at night. It's not overly hot, but then the winters, you know, our average winter days are in the 50s, and the lows are in the 30s, low 30s probably is the average. So we've got excellent weather for people. And, you know, I just encourage them to come and enjoy and visit multitudes of times and find a place that suits them.
And
you know?
What would the like square footage per, like to build one of these houses here? Would it be like $150 a square foot, or what would it, if they are, you know, say they spent $30,000 on the land, then what would a 2,000 square foot house run them, but like an approximation. If people are watching this, they're saying, well, I have this amount of money, maybe that's an option.
Right. Well, I hate to say it right now because I heard 2x4s went from 3.5 to 7.5 during the last year, per board, just for studs. So, I'm not even going to venture there right now because it's going to come back down. And so typically you could say $125 to $150 a square foot for a new build, without the land, but I don't know at this point.
And I've heard this from other people. Is it just because of COVID, they can't manufacture the wood fast enough, or what's going on that wood has gone up so much?
I don't know. Demand, I think, when everybody shut down, Lowe's and Home Depot were still open. And that's, everybody got on the gravy train to do all those honeydews, and they had time because they were working from home. And so they'd work a while and then they go and get stir crazy and work on a project. And I think there was additions. The interest rates are low. So that this is an excellent time to refinance and maybe take a little money out of your equity position and add on to your home or remodel something. You've got lots of opportunities whenever the interest rates are low. And so it is a good time to build, buy, whatever right now.
So would it be safe to say that maybe you could get a house for 250,000, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's still reasonable, because the reason I'm trying to get some kind of pricing is because here in Santa Fe, the median cost of a home right now is over 600,000. So that's, Fort Sumner is a lot more affordable than it would be here in Santa Fe. What is the median cost of a house in the town? Something that's already built, somebody's moving away for whatever reason. What is the average cost of a home these days?
You would be able to get into a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for 100,000, maybe a little bit more. You should be able to get into one. Now then, if you get into the valley, what we call the valley, that's our irrigated farmland. Things go up just a little bit because of the land value. Land values in the valley are closer to $8,000 an acre because of the water rights. You're buying water rights. So that becomes a little bit different, but it is in the country. Your closest neighbor's not going to be right next door to you. They're going to be, whether 100 yards or a quarter of a mile down the road. But it is going to be more of a country feel. And so a lot of people like that, and it's green, anytime you have water, and our water comes from the Pecos River. That's our irrigation water. But we start greening up in March. And so, you top the hill and the ranch land is still in the winter time look, it's kind of dried and it hasn't greened up yet. But you top the hill and come into the valley and things are already turning green because of that water. And it's just refreshing. Let's put it that way.
And what would be, your proximity in the state? What would be like how far are you from a major city? Are you close to El Paso? Are you close to cities in Texas? What are you close to?
Our closest bigger town is Clovis, which is 60 miles east of us. So it's an hour to the closest Walmart, is what we say. We're 2.5 hours from 3 major airports. So we're 2.5 hours from Albuquerque, which is to the west of us, Amarillo, and Lubbock. So you can go northeast, northwest, and so it depends on where you're going to fly. If you need to fly, where you want to go. So within an hour to hour and 15 minutes, you can be to your nearest Sam's Club, Target, Walmart, any franchise restaurant. If you're a big Chili's fan or Applebee's or something like that, you're about an hour away. But in Fort Sumner proper, we have everything that you need. We have restaurants, we have a lumber yard, we have a grocery store, we have all the utility companies, have an actual building where you can talk to someone in person, that kind of thing. We have a wonderful school system, pre-K through 12. And there's about 257 kids, I think, in pre-K through 12 right now. But, the way I look at that is you get them in a small school system, you've got more parents than just you and your husband. So they take a one-on-one look at their kids, and they really, they want them to succeed in all areas, not just academic, not just athletic. They want them to succeed. And so Fort Sumner does have a lot to offer, but if you want something big, you want something different, you may have to go online, or you may have to drive a little ways. But, we do have everything you need right here in town.
And if people were maybe wanting to retire, how are the medical facilities at Fort Sumner? Is it a place where elderly people would have doctors and different things?
We do have a clinic. We've got a great clinic with a medical doctor and nurse practitioner. We have a dentist, mental health. I don't know if she's called a physician, but we have mental health. And so you can get in, say you have the flu. Normally they keep appointments open where you can get in that day, but if you just need a diabetic checkup, for instance, then you call and set up an appointment for, the next few days or week or something like that. But we have a great staff, and they have radiology right there. They can do your blood work, your x-rays, all that kind of stuff right in-house.
But are there senior citizen services there? Is there like a bus that picks you up, or do they have any of those types of things for senior citizens?
We do have a senior citizen. With the COVID, things are a little bit different right now. They deliver the lunches for them, but if you do need assistance, I think they do provide that through the village of Fort Sumner.
So
they have
senior citizens. Nice place to retire. It wouldn't be far out in the country for somebody who's maybe retiring. They're a little bit older. They want the peace and quiet, but they also they have to have some of the things that will make their lives easier at this point in time.
And one of the other things that would make it easier is we have a pharmacy. And so you can go to the doctor and then drive a few blocks and actually talk to your pharmacist and get everything filled right there. And they take the insurance just like the big pharmacies do.
And what about the rest of the county? So Fort Sumner, we know a little bit about the town and how famous it is because of Billy the Kid. But what are some of the areas where people, maybe they're younger people that they can work remotely and they want to buy a tract of land and be out there somewhere, stargazing. What are some of the more popular areas of the county that you're currently selling real estate, and what does it go for price-wise?
Well, like I mentioned before, we do have Sumner Lake, and there are some homes around that. Most of those are older homes, but they are beginning to sell, and some of them are locals that are buying them, and they're fixing them up, and they want to keep them for their kids, or they want them for themselves. They just like Tobacco County. But there is a group of homes out there that you could choose from and look at, and the development, we have what we call the valley, and then there's the rest of the county is more ranch land. Those are large tracts of land that cost significantly more money, but if somebody truly wants to live isolated, a ranch is where you want to be. Most people.
What would the cost be about, like you say, a large tract of land, like 60,000 acres or 300 acres? What's a large tract of land?
Okay, ranch land is going for anywhere from $400 to $500 an acre, and the farmland is the irrigated farmland. We don't have much dry land at all. It's irrigated. Like I said, it's about 8,000 an acre. The key is finding it whenever it comes available. So you're not going to come in on any given day and find a lot of properties for sale. They're just not there. People like Tobacco County. They want to stay here. Once they're here, they want to stay here. And so that's good and that's bad. You know,
But do
we
you,
have, go ahead.
but do you have the capability? I mean, do you have good internet services in the sense that people can work remotely?
Oh, yes.
To do that?
We do. Our local phone company is called Plateau, and they have provided fiber optics to almost everyone in the entire county. And so, you know, anytime you want online, it's going to be there. They've been excellent to work with. And so as our electric company, you know, we rarely have outages. And if we do, we're not out very long. And so for someone to want to work remotely, this is the ideal time to look, you know, because we do have the capabilities, and it is going to be a lot less. The cost of living is less here than a lot of places. What I see is my fuel bill is probably a little bit higher than anything else because of wanting to go elsewhere for those specialty items, you know. But like I said, we've got everything you need, and the price of housing, to me, if you can't afford very much, we do have older homes, I mean, that were built here in the 40s and 50s. They're nothing fancy, absolutely nothing fancy, but there's nothing wrong with them to be able to live in. They're very livable, and those go very inexpensively.
What,
You
like,
know,
like
I
70,000?
saw one the other day that was recorded at the courthouse. It went for 29,000, and it was
Wow.
probably about you know, 800 to 1,000 square feet. You know, and like I said, it was an older home, definitely an older home, but very, very livable. And so, you know, if somebody wants to come in and say they enjoy fixing up a property or fixing up a place, this will be a good place to do that. You know, and we do have, there's a young man that grew up here, moved away, and he came back, and he's been buying up some of the rental properties to help some of these people, and he fixes them up. That's what he enjoys, and I'm glad he's doing it. You know, but he's got, I don't know, 6 or 8 maybe, something like that. Whenever there's I think less than 700 in the city proper households. That's pretty good.
So there's some real bargains, it sounds.
There can be, yes, ma'am.
And again, we're out of time here, but I'm curious, in Fort Sumner, do you find like mom and pop restaurants there rather than chains? Because you mentioned like if you like Chili's, you have to go an hour away. So in the town itself, you're finding more local restaurants?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
well, that's also a real selling point, because so many people are tired of all the sameness of America and all those restaurants. Well, you know, we're out of time now, but is there anything you want to close with in terms of, you know, being a realtor in Tobacco County and being located in Fort Sumner? Any parting words of wisdom that might be of help to people that are looking at New Mexico and maybe your part of the state?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would encourage anybody to come and give us a shot. I think we're a wonderful community, friendly people that, you know, sometimes we get a little complacent because we are a little further away, but I think there's a lot of opportunities for people if they want to come in here and be a part of a community, and especially get their kids into a good school system. And as far as being safe, you know, we have very little crime, very, very little crime. And that, to me, means a lot in today's world. So
you definitely have that right. Well, you know, I want to thank you again for spending time with me, and I'll have all your contact details, you know, with this video, and hopefully you'll get some people to come out and visit your way.
Oh, I would love that. We all would. I appreciate you, Anna.
Thanks so much.